What would you do if the price of hope was 2 pizzas in 2 minutes? When a struggling waitress dares to take a billionaire's impossible challenge, a simple joke turns into a battle of hunger, pride, and survival. As the timer ticks and the world watches, her courage shatters every expectation. But what she wins that night isn't just money, it's the moment that changes both their lives forever. Hit like, subscribe, and stay till the end. This isn't just another viral challenge. It's the story of a waitress who took on a billionaire and taught the world that strength doesn't come from wealth, but from will. The scent of melted cheese and wood-fired crust filled the cramped air of Tony's Pizzeria, a small downtown restaurant that never seemed to sleep. Between the clatter of plates and the sizzle from the oven, Lena Hart, 22, moved like a shadow. Quick, quiet, and invisible to the laughter of customers she could never afford to join. Her sneakers had lost their color months ago, and her hair, once sun-gold, was now tied back in a messy knot streaked with exhaustion. Rent was due in 3 days. Her mother's medical prescription refill sat unpaid on the counter of their one-room apartment. Still, Lena smiled at every table because tips, no matter how small, meant another day she could keep the lights on. That Friday night felt different. The rain outside came down in sheets, streaking the windows with silver, and every table was full. Lena balanced 3 plates on one arm when the door swung open. A blast of perfume and cigar smoke followed 5 men in tailored suits. Their laughter filled the room like brass horns. At their center was Aiden Cross, the name whispered in business schools and magazines. Billionaire, tech CEO. A man used to seeing the world move when he spoke. His watch probably cost more than Lena's entire year's wage. He looked out of place under the flickering neon sign that read, "Hot pizza and cold beer." They sat near the counter. Aiden's friends, executives fresh from a charity gala, were drunk on champagne and boredom. They complained about the city, about the rain, about life being too predictable. Then, with a lazy grin, Aiden leaned back and said, "Let's make tonight interesting." He tapped the table with his ring. "I'll give 10 grand cash to anyone who can finish 2 large pizzas in 2 minutes. The pizzeria went still. A few people laughed, thinking it was a joke. 10 grand for pizza? The cooks behind the counter exchanged amused looks. Tony, the owner, chuckled nervously. But Lena froze. $10,000. That was 6 months of rent. Her mother's treatment. Maybe even college again, the crowd murmured. 2 large pies? That's impossible. Aiden smirked. Then my money's safe. Something in Lena snapped. Maybe it was the exhaustion. Maybe the quiet humiliation of serving people who never saw her. She set down the tray she was carrying, wiped her hands on her apron, and stepped forward. "I'll take that bet." Every head turned. Someone laughed out loud, thinking she was kidding. But Lena's eyes didn't waver. Aiden looked her over. Thin, tired, small. "You?" he asked, half smiling. "Me," she said, voice steady. 2 pizzas, 2 minutes. You said 10 grand. For a heartbeat, the restaurant held its breath. Then Aiden raised an eyebrow. "You've got guts, I'll give you that." He turned to Tony. "Get her 2 fresh pies, pepperoni, double cheese." Phones came out. A TikTok influencer at table 6 started a live stream. Someone shouted, "This is going viral already." As the timer was set, Lena tied her hair tighter. Tony whispered, "Kid, you don't have to." "I do," she interrupted softly. Aiden leaned forward, elbows on the table, his friends jeering playfully. "If she wins, I pay up. If she doesn't, she cleans our table for free." "Deal," Lena said. The ovens blazed. Within minutes, 2 steaming pizzas landed in front of her. The smell hit her like a wave. She hadn't eaten all day. Aiden lifted his phone to film. 2 minutes. "No tricks. You ready?" She nodded. "Timer starts." "Now?" The room erupted. Lena grabbed the first slice and folded it like a professional competitor, taking huge bites. Sauce smeared across her hand, but she didn't care. The clock above the counter ticked. 1:45. Final 30. 1:15. The crowd began to cheer. "Go, girl!" Someone yelled. Aiden's grin faltered. He expected hesitation, maybe 1 slice down. But Lena was halfway through the first pizza before the first minute was gone. Sweat formed on her forehead. Her jaw burned, throat aching, but she forced herself on. For Mom, for rent. For tomorrow. 30 seconds. Someone shouted. The last slice of the first pizza vanished. She grabbed the second, pushing through pain and nausea. Hayden leaned closer, disbelief creeping across his face. 10 seconds. Her hand shook. The final bite hovered near her lips. The crowd counted 5, 4, 3, 2. She swallowed. 1. The bell rang. The room exploded in cheers and screams. Lena staggered back, breathing hard, dizzy from the effort. Aiden stared at her in stunned silence. Then, smiling faintly, he began to clap. Nobody realized that behind her brave grin, Lena's vision blurred, the edges of the world spinning. She whispered, "Did I win?" Then everything went dark. Phones flashed from every corner of Tony's pizzeria. The once cozy restaurant now buzzed like an arena before the final round. Every table had turned. Every customer held up a camera, their voices blending into a single electric hum of disbelief. Lena sat at the center of it all, elbows on the table, 2 steaming pizzas before her like molten testaments to the impossible. Across from her, Aiden Cross leaned back, arms folded, still wearing that polished grin that made boardrooms tremble. But under the neon glow, the billionaire's smirk looked more like curiosity. Could she really pull this off? 2 minutes, he repeated, glancing at his diamond watch. Your time starts. Now the first bite hit like a thunderclap. The room roared. Lena didn't eat. She attacked. Fold, bite, swallow, mechanical, practiced, ruthless. Cheese stretched like silk threads between her fingers. Her jaw worked with the focus of someone who'd already made peace with pain. Every chew, every breath was calculated. 40 seconds in, she's halfway through the first. Someone shouted. Phones zoomed in. TikTok captions appeared in real time. The girl who might win $10K for pizza. But behind Lena's blank eyes, another scene played. Flashback number 1, 2 weeks earlier. A dim apartment, paint peeling, the fridge humming empty. Lena stood by the kitchen counter, an eviction notice trembling in her hand. Her mother coughed softly from the couch, too weak to lift her head. Don't stay up too late, sweetheart. I'm fine, Mom, Lena whispered, crumpling the paper behind her back. We'll figure it out. Back in the present, the taste of pepperoni burned her tongue. 1 minute left. Sweat ran down her neck. The crowd had gone from laughter to awe. Aiden's friend muttered, "She's actually doing it." Not possible, Aiden murmured, but his voice lacked conviction. Flashback number 2. Lena sat outside the university bursar's office, clutching her unpaid tuition bill. Her scholarship had been revoked. The clerk's voice echoed in her memory. If payment isn't received by Friday, your enrollment will be cancelled. That was the day she decided to work double shifts. That was the day she stopped sleeping. 30 seconds, someone screamed. Her jaw ached. Her stomach cramped. Her vision flickered, but she didn't stop. She'd trained for survival her whole life, not pizza. Tony, the owner, whispered to Aiden, "She's gonna kill herself trying." Aiden's jaw tightened. He didn't answer. His phone trembled slightly in his hand. Why was he nervous? Flashback Vara 3. Lena kneeling beside her mother's hospital bed, holding her cold hand. "Mom, please take your medicine." "I will," her mother whispered. "Once we can afford it." Lena promised herself she'd never hear that sentence again. Back in the pizzeria, her breathing turned ragged. 1 last slice remained. The crowd counted down instinctively. 10, 9. Aiden's smile vanished completely. For the first time, he leaned forward. 8, 7. Lena picked up the slice, trembling. Grease dripped onto the plate. Her eyes glistened, half tears, half determination. 6, 5. She forced a bite. Her throat screamed. 4, 3. Another bite. 2. She shoved the final piece into her mouth, swallowing against a rising burn in her chest. 1. The bell clanged. Silence. Then the eruption. The restaurant exploded in applause. Chairs scraped. Phones rose higher. A woman screamed, "She did it!" She did it with 1 second left. Aiden stared at her, speechless. He'd made the challenge as a joke. Yet here she was, small, fragile, and utterly victorious. Lena lifted her head, blinking through the blur. For a moment she almost smiled. The noise around her faded. replaced by the steady ringing in her ears. She whispered, "Did I win?" Tony's voice cracked. "You did, kid. You won." Aiden stood slowly, pulling a wad of cash from his jacket pocket, 10 crisp $1,000 bills. He stepped closer, ready to speak, but Lena swayed. Her hand reached out as if to steady herself on the table. Then her knees buckled. The applause stopped. "Lena!" Tony shouted, rushing forward. The pizzas, half crumbled, slid to the floor as her body crumpled beside them. Aiden caught her before she hit the ground, his $1,000 suit streaked with sauce and ash. Her head fell against his arm, her breathing shallow. "Get an ambulance," someone yelled, but Aiden barely heard. He stared down at her, this girl who had turned a billionaire's joke into a moment he'd never forget. For the first time in a long time, Aiden Cross looked genuinely shaken. The paramedics burst through the door, the crowd splitting apart. As they lifted her onto a stretcher, one of the customers whispered, "She won." But at what cost? Aiden stood frozen, the money still in his hand. The steady beep of a heart monitor pulled Lena from the dark. The air was too clean, too still. White ceiling, white sheets, white light. For a long moment she thought she was dreaming. Then came the ache in her throat and the heavy tug in her chest, reality setting in like a weight. A hospital room. A small vase of lilies sat on the side table next to a card that read, "Paid in full, get well soon." Lena blinked at the words, trying to make sense of them. She looked around. Private room, not public, not cheap. Her heart raced. "Who?" The door creaked open. Aiden Cross stepped inside, no suit this time, just jeans, a dark jacket, and tired eyes that didn't match the confident man from last night. For the first time, he looked human. "Morning," he said softly. Lena's voice came out hoarse. "Where am I?" "St. Augustine Private Hospital. You passed out, dehydration and exhaustion." "You'll be fine," he said, pulling a chair closer. "I paid the bills." She blinked. "You didn't have to." "I did." He smiled faintly. "You won the bet. Fair and square." The silence between them stretched. Lena stared at her trembling hands. "Why are you here?" Aiden exhaled. "Because I needed to be." He hesitated, searching for words. "You reminded me of someone." "My sister, Emma." His voice dipped. "She died when she was 20. Overworked, underfed, chasing scholarships like her life depended on them. Because it did." Lena's throat tightened. "I'm sorry." He nodded. "She used to say the same thing you did last night. I'll take that bet. She always believed in fighting back, no matter how unfair the odds." He looked down at his hands. "I made a joke out of something that nearly killed her." Lena's eyes softened. The billionaire who once looked untouchable now looked fractured, a man carrying ghosts behind designer suits. "I didn't mean to embarrass you," he said quietly. "I was so bored I forgot what hunger looks like." Lena gave a small, tired smile. "Then maybe you needed to see it again." Aiden chuckled, a real laugh, low and broken. "Yeah, maybe I did." He reached into his jacket and pulled out a tablet, turning it toward her. The screen showed headlines from overnight. "The Girl Who Ate for Hope. Waitress Wins 10K Challenge." "Rich CEO's Pizza Bet Goes Viral Worldwide." The Pizza Challenge Queen was trending across platforms. Lena stared, speechless, as videos of her challenge played on loop. Millions of views, thousands of comments. Some called her insane, most called her inspiring. "She's stronger than half the people I know," one comment read. "This girl needs a Netflix deal," another said. Aiden watched her expression. "You've become a symbol, Lena. People are calling you the girl who ate for hope." Lena let out a shaky laugh. "Hope doesn't pay rent." He smiled. "Maybe it will now." She frowned. "What do you mean?" Aiden leaned forward. "My company's launching a new food initiative project, a non-profit that helps students and single mothers get access to affordable meals. It's called the Emma Project. I want you to be part of it." Lena blinked. "Me? You understand hunger better than anyone I know," he said simply. "You've lived it. You fought it. That's exactly the kind of leadership this world needs. Her chest tightened. For years she'd been serving food to others, never once imagining someone would offer her a seat at the table. "I don't have a degree," she said weakly. "Neither did I when I started my first company," Aiden said. "What you have is grit. The rest we'll teach." Lena's eyes watered. "Why me?" He stood, adjusting his jacket. "Because you reminded me what humanity looks like." The door opened as a nurse entered to check her vitals. Aiden stepped back. "Rest up. The world's watching now." As he left, Lena caught her reflection in the glass. Pale, tired, but somehow radiant. For the first time in years, her face wasn't weighed down by fear. It carried something else. Purpose. Hours later, as she scrolled through her phone, her inbox flooded with messages. Journalists, talk shows, sponsorship offers. Her social media had exploded overnight. A trending post read, "She didn't just eat pizza, she devoured despair." Lena laughed softly through her tears. Outside, Aiden stood by his car, watching the city's skyline. For years, he'd built empires out of profit. But last night, a girl with calloused hands had built something greater. Perspective. 6 months later, the name Lena Hart was no longer whispered behind counters or printed on eviction notices. It glowed from billboards, flashed across magazine covers, and appeared in university newsletters under one headline: "The Girl Who Ate for Hope, Now Feeding Thousands." The ballroom of the Hilton Grand shimmered that evening with soft gold lights. Rows of guests filled the seats, business leaders, educators, journalists, and hundreds of students from low-income families, each holding a small card that read, "The Emma Project Foundation Annual Gala." At the center of the stage stood Lena. No apron this time, no flour-stained hands, just a simple white dress and a microphone that trembled slightly in her grip. The crowd quieted as the lights dimmed. Behind her, a giant screen displayed footage of that unforgettable night, the pizza challenge, the cheers, the moment she collapsed. Aiden Cross's voice narrated softly over it. "Some bets change lives. Some redefine what strength looks like." Lena stepped forward, taking a deep breath. 6 months ago, she began, her voice steady. "I was just a waitress, tired, broke, hungry, not just for food, but for a chance. That night when I took that ridiculous bet, I didn't do it for $10,000. She paused, looking out into the sea of faces. "I did it because hunger had been winning for too long." The room was silent. Cameras flashed. Somewhere in the audience, Aiden smiled faintly. No arrogance, no polished performance, just pride. Lena continued, "When I woke up in that hospital, I thought my story had ended. But Aiden showed me that sometimes the world is waiting to see you fight, to remind it that courage still exists. Today I stand here as part of the Emma Project, feeding students who can't afford lunch, and single mothers who skip meals to feed their children." Applause rippled through the hall, soft at first, then swelling like thunder. She smiled. "But here's the truth. I'm not a hero. I just got hungry enough to stop being silent." Her gaze found Aiden in the crowd. He nodded once, no words needed. Between them was an unspoken understanding. He had built the bridge, but she had taught him what it meant to cross it. As the ceremony closed, a video montage rolled. New kitchens opening in community colleges, free meal programs in urban schools, and a special initiative for single parents, all made possible by the Emma Project. Then came the night's biggest announcement. The host read from the podium, "Lena Hart has pledged half of her first-year salary, $500,000, to fund meal programs for single mothers." Gasps filled the room. The audience stood in ovation. Aiden blinked, caught completely off guard. His jaw clenched, not out of pride, but out of something far deeper. Respect. After the event, he found her backstage, sitting on a flight case, removing her heels. She looked up as he approached. "You didn't have to do that," he said quietly. Lena smiled. "I did. You helped me build something worth more than money. Now it's my turn to pass it on." He chuckled softly. "You know, when I first met you, I thought you were just a girl trying to win a stupid bet. And now?" "Now," he said, "I think you're the reason I stopped making them." Lena laughed, shaking her head. "You're still rich, Aiden," he smirked. Not like before. They stepped out onto the balcony where the city stretched beneath them, glittering like a promise. The night air was cool. Somewhere below, a group of college students were holding signs that read, "Thank you, Lena." She leaned on the railing, thoughtful. "Do you ever wonder what your sister would think?" Aiden's smile faltered into something softer. "I think she'd say I finally learned what winning really means." Lena nodded. "Then maybe we both did." The music from inside drifted through the open doors, a slow piano tune, calm and hopeful. She turned to him one last time. "Sometimes," she said, "the richest people aren't the ones who win the bet, but the ones who change what it means to win." Aiden looked at her, and for once didn't have anything clever to say. As the camera flash from the press caught their silhouettes against the city skyline, the story that started with a bet ended with something far greater, a legacy.